As late as 2006, there were still liberals who cared about the economic effects of immigration, legal or illegal. Immigration reduces the wages of domestic workers who compete with immigrants, explained economist Paul Krugman in the New York Times. We'll need to reduce the inflow of low-skilled immigrants. Mainly that means better controls on illegal immigration. That same year, Senator Hillary Clinton voted for a fence on the Mexican border. So did Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer and 23 other Senate Democrats. Not anymore. 20 years after Bill Clinton told Americans they had the right to be upset about illegal immigration, his wife scolded the country for enforcing border controls. So what changed? Not the economics of it. The law of supply and demand remained in effect. It's not a coincidence that as illegal immigration surged, wages for American workers stagnated. What changed is that Democrats stopped caring about those workers, about the middle class, really. Why? Here's the answer in 4 simple facts. 1, according to a recent study from Yale, there are at least 22 million illegal immigrants living in the United States. 2, Democrats plan to give all of them citizenship. Read the Democrats' 2016 party platform. 3, studies show the overwhelming majority of first-time immigrant voters vote Democrat. 4, the biggest landslide in American presidential history was only 17 million votes. Do the math. The payoff for Democrats? Permanent electoral majority for the foreseeable future. In a word, power. That's the point, no matter what they tell you. American workers be damned.
What's going on, everyone? Sasha McKinney here today, and welcome to the Inconvenient Truths. This time we'll be talking about the inconvenient truth about open borders. Open borders hurts everyone, every American. Doesn't matter your skin color, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter who you are, right? Illegal immigration hurts legal immigration, right? Illegal immigration hurts low-skilled workers, as you saw from the intro, right? And the people who are now the champions of immigration, they're not necessarily being champions of immigration because it's out of the kindness of their heart. No, they have a political gain. They have a political motive for pushing open borders, right? Now, when people say, oh, it doesn't make any sense for have our borders wide open, it hurts our worker. Well, I agree with Tucker Carlson's assessment of the situation. The Democrats stopped caring about the workers. To them, you're just a means to an end. And this is why I always try to point out to black people is that in the future, their vote ain't gonna matter one day, right? 22 million illegal immigrants in the country, right? What about legal immigrants like my parents that waited centuries? I'm joking around, but almost 2 decades to immigrate into the United States. How's that fair to them, right? How's your first action into a country is to break their laws? That don't make any sense to me, right? New York, all these sanctuary cities in these liberal states, blue states, Massachusetts, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, they're feeling the pressure now. They're like, damn, they're a drain on the system. They're burdening the system. New York has to pay. They're gonna have a bill of what, maybe $12 billion at the end of the year if they don't get help from the federal government. And that's just a taste of what the border states get, like Arizona and Texas, if I remember correctly. But these people don't seem to realize the impact of these decisions that they make onto other people. And then when red states are pushing for border control or enforcing the border completely, these liberals want to get mad. Oh, no, we're going to be a sanctuary city, but you're nowhere near the border. So pretty much you just want to show you're good instead of doing good. And this is the biggest problem we have in our politics is that the liberal Democrats, right? Democrats, I'm going to say Democrats. Democrats have a political motive for why they want open borders, why they want path to citizenship, because they see that majority of the first-time immigrants vote Democrat. I bet you if these immigrants voted Republican at an overwhelming rate, they'll be singing a different tune about open borders. I want to go into this next clip and show you how black people are most affected by illegal immigration.
Illegal immigration, something supported by big business for cheap labor, supported by Democrats for votes. George Borjas, the Harvard economist, has probably done more work on the effect of legal and illegal immigration than any other economist in the country. Because a disproportionate percentage of immigrants have few skills, it is low-skilled American workers, including many blacks and Hispanics, who have suffered most from this wage dip. The monetary loss is sizable. The typical high school dropout earns about $25K annually. According to census data, immigrants admitted in the past 2 decades lacking a high school diploma have increased the size of low-skilled workforce by roughly 25%. As a result, the earnings of this particularly vulnerable group dropped by between $800 and $1,500 each year, end of quote. You see, Democrats realize that there are more votes in porous borders than there are in wanting to secure the borders. Because after all, they used to sound just like Donald Trump on immigration. Check out Obama, Clinton, Feinstein, and Harry Reid.
Those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers.
I think we can enforce our borders. I think we should enforce our borders.
If making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough, how about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant? No sane country would do that, right?
And no sane country will do that, right? I guess we're not sane anymore. We got a senile old man as president, and they don't want to enforce the border. What you making an incentive? Hey, come, right? No one can deny that illegal immigration or people crossing the border has increased drastically since Trump got left office. No one can deny that. It's because of Biden's stance, the Democratic stance, right? And the fact that they bring up all these people, it's so blatant in your face that they don't care about you guys. Like, they don't care about Americans. They care about what's in the best interest of their party, and they play these tick for tack games. Oh, we'll bribe you with this. Okay, we'll give you welfare, right? And then you see people in Chicago, right? One of my biggest examples, blue state, blue, super blue, right? Immigrants, they're housing immigrants in hotels, schools. The black people in those areas are getting so pissed off because I don't know if they're illegal, but these immigrants, right, low skilled immigrants, whatever, they're in these neighborhoods causing trouble for the residents that already stay there in that majority black area. And the black people are getting mad in Chicago about the fact that, hey, these illegal immigrants I keep saying illegal, but these immigrants keeps causing trouble. And if y'all don't do something about it, we will. The residents are also mad at how much the taxpaying dollars are going into housing these immigrants, giving them phones, giving them amenities. They're like, yo, you treating them better than you treat us. That's one of the claims that the Chicago residents were complaining about to their mayor, to their police force, to their state. And it shows the priorities that the Democratic Party has. Just to have more votes, just to maintain power. And it seems like what happened is, and no one wants to recognize this, it seems like the Democrats switched from being the Labor Party, and the Democrat Party of today is resting on the laurels of its past. Oh, we're the party for the little guy. They use that facade, and in secret, they're the party of big business, multinational corporations, World Economic Forums, right? They have globalist interests at the expense of the workers. That's not pro-union. But they use that face of, oh, we're pro-union, we're for the little guy, so they can continue pushing their agenda. Now, that's a big hypocrisy in my eyes. But hey, I digress. Let's take a look at this study that Tucker Carlson is going to bring up, and it's something dear and close to my heart. As you know, I'm a Miami kid. So he'll be talking about a study that he found that shows how wages are affected by illegal immigration or migration, like uncontrolled mass migration. Let's take a look.
One study by a Harvard economist examined the effects of the mass migration of Cuban refugees to this country in 1980, the so-called Mariel boat lift. He found that American workers in Miami with a high school education saw their wages fall by more than 30% after the refugees arrived. If you believe in supply and demand, this is not surprising. After the fall of Saigon in 1975, Democratic Governor Jerry Brown opposed letting Vietnamese refugees into California on the grounds that the state already had enough poor people. As he put it at the time, there's something a little strange about saying, let's bring in 500,000 more people when we can't take care of the 1 million Californians out of work. First-term Senator Joe Biden of Delaware agreed. he introduced federal legislation to curb the arrival of the Vietnamese. 2 decades later, leading Democrats were still wary of mass immigration, especially illegal immigration.
Yeah, like you see how like it makes sense to me. Like I think if the Democratic Party had the mindset of 1975 and say, "Hey, we're for immigration, just legal immigration. We want to have certain confines of on the border, right? We still wanted people to come in, pass the citizenship, all that." They ought to make a better case for why we allow immigrants into the country. But the way they're doing it right now, it seems like it's a lack of responsibility. Like they're intentionally not paying attention to the border because they know, hey, look, I'm gonna look the other way, come in. And they have this posture, oh, we're doing something about the border as they cross behind them because they know it benefits them. It advantages them. And this is why I always wanted to talk about how people talk about they don't have a living wage and they don't understand supply and demand. It's like I think the fact that financial literacy is not taught in school is really hurting the American people and how they evaluate the trade-offs of policies that they advocate for. All you have to do is look at Chicago. What they had Lori Lightfoot, bad mayor. Then they got even worse mayor with Brandon Johnson, if I remember his name correctly. Brandon Johnson said, I'm gonna treat everyone with respect. We're a sanctuary city. We're gonna let all these immigrants come in. And people voted for that. And then the same people that voted for Brandon Johnson are now complaining that immigrants are causing trouble in their neighborhoods. They're taking resources away from them, right? What do you expect? Money is finite, no matter how much money you have. And eventually, if you bring up a lot of people who don't have the capabilities in our economy to have a living wage, where are they going to go? Rely on the system. And Democrats already have this strategy mapped out. All you have to do is look at the black community. Black community has a high usage rate. I believe almost 40% of black people are on welfare. The highest usage rate out of all the other races in America. And what's the result of that? 90% turnout. Most loyal Democratic voters in America. So Democrats have this political strategy, intentional or unintentional, that, if we get these people dependent on our policies, dependent on the state, they'll become dependent on they'll be dependent on us, and therefore we got a guaranteed vote. And it seemed like that's the game the Democrats are playing in our political climate today, right? And then they market themselves as empathetic. Oh, we care about you, right? We're open to you, and that kind of people were like first impressions matter. It seems like, right? And the way that the Democrats paint the Republicans as uncaring, tough, unsympathetic. People at a first glance will be like, oh, these people don't like me. These people like me. Even though the actions of this person is hurting you more than the policies and actions of the other party. And I think that's the game that the Democrats are playing, right? They're falling on good marketing to cover up for their bad product. And it seems to be working as of right now. Let's take a look at this last clip of what I'm going to present you for Inconvenient Truth about open borders. And Tucker Carlson's going to explain a story about a Californian that was pro-labor union. And this was in the 1969, I believe, to be correct. But let's take a look at the story, and I'll give my final thoughts at the end of this clip. Let's take a look.
Friday. Yes, we can. This is now the rallying cry of the open borders left, but it wasn't always. In fact, I wondered if a single person at the protest knew where it came from. The slogan first became famous 50 years ago, thanks to Cesar Chavez. He was the founder of the United Farm Workers Union. When Chavez said, "Si se puede," he meant something very different. Yes, we can seal the borders. Cesar Chavez hated illegal immigration. He was Hispanic, obviously, and definitely on the left, but he fought to keep illegal Mexican immigrants out of this country. He understood that peasants from Latin America will always work for less than Americans will. That's why employers prefer them. Chavez knew that. As long as we have a poor country bordering California, he once explained, it's going to be very difficult to win strikes. In 1969, Chavez led a march down the center of California to protest the hiring of illegal immigrant produce pickers. Marching alongside him was Democratic Senator Walter Mondale and the Reverend Ralph Abernathy, the longtime aide to Martin Luther King. 10 years later, Chavez dispatched armed union members into the desert to assault Mexican nationals who were trying to sneak across the border. Chavez's men beat immigrants with chains and whips made of barbed wire. Illegal aliens who dared to work as scabs had their houses firebombed and their cars burned. Chavez wasn't embarrassed about any of this. He bragged about it. No matter. Chavez remains a progressive hero. President Obama declared his birthday a commemorative federal holiday. It's an official day off in a half a dozen states. There's a college named after him and dozens of public schools. Cesar Chavez's life is a reminder of how much the left has changed and how quickly. Until recently, most Democrats agreed with Chavez. They opposed unchecked immigration because they knew it hurt American workers, and they were right.
It's craziness, right? And it's always seemed like this is a pattern in the Democratic Party. Like, they always have some armed force that's willing to do a threats of violence, right? If you see news stories lately, you know, the left like to project and say, oh, the right's dangerous. The rights are out here attacking people. Not as often as the left. You got BLM riots, right? Mostly white people that were in those BLM riots, right? I was in Miami when this happened in Bayside, right? Most of the people they arrested in Bayside when these BLM riots was going on was from outside of the state. But I say all this to kind of wrap up and say that look how they push this guy up as some saint. Oh my God, look at it. He's a hero. Progressive hero. This is what progressive do. To me, just because something, this is where I start thinking about how people don't think long term about these things. People don't evaluate the trade-offs properly when they make these decisions. Yeah, you feel good about, oh, I'm for open borders, whatever, but you don't even practice that in a personal level with your own house, right? It seems like there's this degree of separation from the government and the individual. As long as it doesn't affect me, they don't care. That's the current culture that we live in today. And I think if we continue going down this road, America ain't gonna be sustainable. But hey, I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about the video. Do you like it? Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next Inconvenient Truth. Peace.